Hi. Welcome to Movies Reflexed. Today, I am going to talk about a 2020 action horror movie titled Boys from County Hill. Watch out for spoilers. Take care. At the start of the movie, we see a couple. They were elderly couple. The old lady's nose begins to bleed unexpectedly. She becomes terrified when she sees her husband. Her husband's eyes were also bleeding. It was looking creepy as hell. After it, the scene of 2 months later is shown. The two best friends are shown. One's name is Eugene and another is William. They were sitting in the bar and drinking. Their house was on the hills. They took some tourists up on the hills. They believed that Dracula was buried there. There was a grave and massive stones had been placed on it. They say some strange facts to these tourists. He says, "You will hear some weird noises when you move close to the grave." One of them gets close to it. One of their friend appears. He scares him. Being furious, the tourists leave. Eugene finds a skull from the basement of his parents' house. It had turned black. Eugene brings it home and places it on the dining table. While looking at it, his father asks him, "What have you brought? Do you even know whose it is?" After it, we see that Eugene is in the bar with his friend William and another female friend. As Eugene and William were staying late, so they leave for the house at night. They passing by the grave of Dracula on hills. Meanwhile, they begin to argue about something. Eugene pushes William while fighting. As his hands touches the gravestone, his hand begins to bleed. He was injured. Meanwhile, a pig comes from the forest and attacks William. And it brutally kills him. All of this was happening in front of Eugene's eye. But he couldn't do anything to help his friend. After a while, William's father also arrives there. We notice something strange here. The blood near the grave disappears mysteriously. Following that, William's father retrieves his son's body from the police. The next day, we see that they want to do some construction work near the grave on hills. But they were terrified of removing the grave. Then, Eugene removes the grave from there without being scared. His friend SP is disappointed on it. He was expecting something terrible to happen. A worker is seen at the next scene. He was one of the workers who was doing the construction works on the hills. He feels the presence of someone while he is seated in his office. He goes to check and calls. But no one answers. He goes to a room while checking. We see a lot of blood there. It was clear that someone had assaulted the worker. After it, we see that as they move to the construction site, they notice something shocking there. The grave, which they had broken the day before, was restored to its original state. It means the stones which were removed had all been settled back again. They suspect William's father after seeing it, because he was the one who had forbidden anyone from breaking the grave. On the other side, we see Eugene's father. He doesn't want his son to be involved in it. He orders him to stay away from this. But Eugene doesn't obey him. Meanwhile, the worker who was injured by someone late at night arrives there. Eugene's father says that he always drinks beer, so we will not keep him. Get him out of here. We thought he was dead after witnessing an attack on that worker late at night. Eugene takes that worker with him on his car. Suddenly, that worker tries to bite Eugene while talking. The car loses its balance when he tries to escape from him. That car gets into an accident. Eugene's father was at the hills that time. He runs towards the car when he sees that car crashing. He immediately takes out Eugene from that car. But they notice the worker has disappeared. After looking for a while, they didn't find him. They all try to search for that worker with the torch in the dark rooms. Meanwhile, the light has fallen on that worker's face. That worker was injured and his condition was very bad. His face was bleeding. That worker attacks the man who was having the torch in his hand. He brutally kills him there. Meanwhile, Eugene's female friend reaches and used a pole to hit the worker. She beats him with that pole until his heart attaches to it and falls out. This scene was terrible. But the shocking thing is, that worker was still alive. He was still breathing. They throw him in a deep ditch and buries him there. In spite of this, he wasn't dying. Rather, he was charging out with the pole like a beast. They were left shocked seeing this in front of their eyes. Eugene's friend uses the machine to throw soil on that worker. It was a wise step. They try to bury him completely so that he cannot get out from here at all. Another strange thing we notice was that the man who was attacked by that worker, his blood was slowly seeping into the grave. Meanwhile, We see a terrible foot coming out from that grave. They were terrified when they saw it. It was clear that, even in the grave, the worker was still alive. They all go to William's father. They tell him everything. But William's father wasn't believing them. While searching for something, Eugene sees that William's father is doing something strange. He was extracting the blood from the animals after slaughtering them. Nobody knew why he was doing it. They wanted to know about it. But when they asks William's father, then he is enraged and points a gun at them. Somehow, Eugene's friend manages to relax him. William's father tells Eugene about a room. He also tells Eugene to go to that room. When he goes there, he sees that William is still alive. Eugene was terrified and astonished when he saw that William didn't even look like a human. His condition was like an animal. William's father was killing and extracting animal blood for him. William's father tells, "When I was doing post-mortem of my son with my wife, then William unexpectedly wakes up." After witnessing this scene, William's mother suffers from depression. "We locked William in a room because he wasn't powerful enough at that time." Actually, it happened as the result of Dracula's resurgence. Because they had desecrated his grave, Dracula's soul has possessed William. They are facing problems because of Dracula. They read Dracula's book, from which they come to know that Dracula cannot be killed. Eugene's father was adamantly opposed. He believes that if they cut off William's head, everything will return to normal. All of these will be over. They all make a plan to kill William unwillingly. While they were planning, then William's mother unexpectedly wakes up. She shoots and injures William's father in order to prevent him from killing William. Then, William attacks his mother. He bites her and also kills her. After seeing it, they become terrified and flee from there. They sit in the car. But no one had the key to the car. William also arrives there. He wants to kill everyone. But William's father didn't wanted this. So, he fights with his own son. They all come in and take shelter in the house. William comes there in search of everyone. After encasing William in a coffin, SP was hiding there. He calls everyone there to help him. They all put the lid on that coffin. SP is injured while locking William in the coffin. He dies after a while. They bury the coffin. Then we are shown the scene after 2 months. From where the movie began. The scene where we saw the old couple with bleeding eyes and nose. It happened to them because Dracula was moving towards the city. Following Dracula's arrival in the city, everyone begins to bleed like water. They all go to help the people in the city who buried the dead body of William. Meanwhile, Eugene realizes that Dracula's castle is his parents' house, where he had founded that black skull. He believes that he will encounter Dracula there. Eugene and his father hide in their house. We see Eugene's father makes him faint in order to save him. He wanted to fight Dracula alone. Dracula then appears in front of him. Eugene's father uses an axe to sever his head. He feels relieved after accomplishing this. Because he believed that he had killed Dracula. When he was telling this to his son Eugene, then Dracula reappears and assaults Eugene's father. It was clear here that Dracula cannot be killed. Eugene and his father emerge from the sewer using a trash pipe. When sees the sunlight, then he goes into hiding with his father. He believes that Dracula will perish from exposing to sunlight. But they notice that sunlight has no effect on Dracula's body. Eugene is terrified after seeing it. To save his father, he hides him somewhere while dragging him. Eugene's father tells him that stopping and killing Dracula is important. We see that Eugene has separated the injured leg of his father from his body. As Dracula moved closer to him, his fears grew stronger. After breaking his father's leg, Eugene uses it to attack Dracula. Dracula immediately falls into a ditch. Eugene puts soil on her without wasting time. Following it, he places massive stones in that area so that she couldn't move out from there. Meanwhile, Eugene's female friend comes and rescues them. Following that, we are shown the scene of 3 months later. We see Eugene and his father. Eugene's father had lost a leg, but he was alive. He was telling Eugene that while cleaning the house, he discovered some stones. Eugene takes these stones to Dracula's grave. He places these stones over it to strengthen it even more. And with it, the movie ends here. If you enjoyed this video, then please subscribe to my channel and stay tuned for the upcoming uploads. Thank you for watching.